welcome everybody. Thank you for joining today's Coaches Call. And we have a pretty full agenda. We had some exciting late additions, so it actually looks a little bit different from the agenda that you saw before, with some new information. So today, without further ado, I'll go ahead and get started. NCL recently held its annual symposium, and I'm going to share with you some of the information that was discussed there. And we also have a couple of people on the call who are going to join in on that presentation. Also, very exciting news. We have a new college that has joined NCL, and we actually have John Sparks, the faculty member who has decided to join. He's on the call today. Welcome, John. Thank you for joining. So he's going to talk a little bit about that experience and share it with everybody. And then you've heard, if you were on the call before, you have heard about the coach's manual for integrating NCL into the courses. And so we'll be discussing that a little bit more. And then the tutorial webinars that are taking place every week are currently on NCL's YouTube channel. So I'll just mention that, make sure that everybody is aware of it, and also ask for any information on what you would like to see covered in the future. And then the strategies that we're implementing to bring on board new female players, as well as underserved communities. And you may not know, but we also have an HBCU scholarship that is underway. And so, since I didn't introduce myself before, as you may be new, my name is Tally Walsh. I'm the director of the National Cyber League, which is hosted and organized by Cyber Skyline. And a couple people I'd like to mention on the call as well. David Zychek is the NCL commissioner. Hi, David.
Hello.
And also several people are on from our coaches committee. And also Toby Lin is the Chief Technology Officer from Cyber Skyline, which is the platform that hosts the National Cyber League. And I'm really excited that we're also joined by Tony Bryan. Hi, Tony. And I think Jess was able to join as well. She said that Jess Walden Gray, she said that she was having problems because you have thunderstorms where you are in St. Louis, right?
Yeah, bad storms, a little bit of lightning blew a transformer for her. So I'm helping her out. I'm slide guy today.
Oh. Yeah. We'll see how much my phone hotspot can work, but the lightning seems to have hit the pole right next to my house.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So.
Well, we're honored that you're able to join NCL despite those problems. And then also Dan Manson, who is on the NCL Inc. board and the former commissioner. Very excited that he's on still.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. And then a couple of our coaches committee members, Aurelia Donald. Aurelia, you were able to join. Yes, excellent.
Yeah, hello everyone.
Hi, as well as Eric Chantin. And did I miss anybody on the coaches committee? Good. Okay. Well, with that, let's go ahead and get started. I may need to pause if I see anybody additional in the waiting room, but I'm really glad to welcome you today. And let me move to the next slide. So in the recent symposium, NCL annual symposium, it was very much a strategy meeting. We talked, we had an opportunity to see the report from our survey. So NCL conducts a survey and a report to make sure that we are staying on top of the feedback that we're receiving from players and coaches. And the information was extremely interesting. I'm going to share with you a couple of things. So as a result of the meeting, we said we would start an industry advisory group. I wanted to let you know about that. And we'll be inviting alumni, so people who have been students of NCL in the past, as well as recruiters, industry recruiters, because we want to tap into that source to talk about how important it is to be able to demonstrate the skills that NCL players have been able to add to their resumes through playing the games, using the scouting report that each individual player gets. And so what we're going to ask you to help us with, and other coaches, is to point out former students of yourselves that have been able to join a company or join an organization in the cybersecurity field, are now professionals and might be interested in participating in this industry advisory group. So with that, please send me an email about it. We will be adding a form, an application form to the website for it, so that we're able to be more efficient about it. But if anybody comes to mind that you definitely would like us to consider, please go ahead and send me an email. And you can actually do that through the general email address, info@nationalcyberleague.org, and I'll be seeing it. So I'm really excited about that group. And actually, let me stop and just ask for any input or feedback on that idea.
I would also just mention the Slack channel too, Tal, if you wanted to, for more interactive conversation.
Yeah. Feel free to, if you aren't already participating on the Slack channel, there is there's an application to access it on the website. But again, if you're having trouble finding it, feel free to send an email to that email address.
Hallie,
Right.
did you mention the videos that we discussed with the alums?
Yes. So so one of the and that's actually the last, is that the last thing? No. So one of the things that we had talked about doing is we get so many great testimonials from students about how much NCL has helped them, how they've enjoyed it. So we thought we would start a video solicitation, like 1-minute videos by people just basically videotaping themselves talking about perhaps a challenge that they've overcome in NCL, talking about their experience. We've already gotten a couple of those and we're pretty excited about them, but we will be posting those on the website. We're also planning to start an NCL Hall of Fame, and so more details on that later, because it's right at the beginning stages of consideration. But thanks for that, Aurelia. A new growth area for us is high schools, and so we're reaching out to organizations that we can discuss that opportunity with. As you know, as you may know, we have a partnership with CompTIA. CompTIA is also very interested in participating with us on that, as well as a couple of other organizations. But high schools are a growing area for us. We already have, I think, close to a couple thousand high schoolers participating, but they, that's an area where we need to be reaching out more. And one of the ideas that we came up with is this, what we're calling a hub and spoke model, which is with the hubs being colleges, and then the spokes being regional high schools in their area, where colleges can be acting sort of as buddies to the high schools, introducing them to NCL and participating perhaps as a group. So Any ideas on that? Thoughts on that idea?
Tally, this is Dan.
Hey, Dan.
Do you want to mention the status of having the separate power rankings for high school? Or Toby, do you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, I'll ask Toby.
Yeah, so that is already in progress. So all the high school students that are signing up for this particular season, when they sign up, if they are attached to a high school coach at the end of the season, what we will do is go back and retroactively make sure that they are all a part of the same high school there. And then we will use the name of the high school that the coach has designated as sort of like the like source of authority in terms of what the high school name is. Because a lot of like high school students will put, say, for example, like an abbreviation instead of their official name for the high school. So we just want like a consistent thing. So the whatever the coach inputs, that will be the source of authority on the high school name there. So, and then afterwards we'll publish the also power rankings for the high schoolers as well.
And the power rankings will look similar to the current power rankings?
Correct. Yeah. So there's no action that the students or coaches themselves need to do. Just make sure that they fill in the information as correctly as possible. And then we'll take that and we'll be able to publish those at the end of the season there.
Will, don't want to put you on the spot, but will a high
Sure.
school know if they perform better than a college in the power rankings?
So I think the first iteration right here will have a separate high school rankings, and then as we go forward, I think we may have some sort of like a combined ranking system for that. But for the first season here that we're doing this, I think we'll be doing solely a separate high school rankings.
Sounds good.
Mm-hmm. But they can always tell if they did beat a a college team on the regular leaderboard though. So that is already something that is happening. High schoolers are actively beating out a lot of the college teams. So, and then they will continue to be able to know that definitely, but just like not the overall rankings. I don't know if we're probably not going to do the combined one this season.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, very welcome.
So because we're talking about high schools, why don't I take this opportunity to ask Tony Bryan to talk about what CyberUp is up to. And I know, Tony, that your focus is middle schools and high schools. So maybe just do a quick intro on how CyberUp is operating, what your goals are. You know, we are in partnership. Skyline provides the platform for the PowerUp Cyber Games. So maybe, so it's a great way for us to continue to work together, but maybe just give people an idea of what the PowerUp Cyber Games is.
Yeah, do you want to take that, Jess, or you want me to take it?
I can take it. I can talk. I think Tony's internet should do any screen sharing. Given my iPhone SE, it can only do so much. But yeah, so Tony does have, if you'd allow screen sharing, I can talk, but Tony would be able to pull something up. So CyberUp, we're in St. Louis, and Tony and CyberUp have been working on the adult apprenticeship side of getting folks into cybersecurity for a while. And now with Cyber Skyline, started PowerUp Cyber Games as an academic year-length entry point into cybersecurity competitions. Really thinking about lowering barriers for anybody who's going to get kids involved, and thinking about it in a format of like after school club or an elective, or integrating into an academic year-long computer science or cybersecurity class. I'm not sure what's going on, but yeah, so what I sent him a presentation.
Can you see my screens?
Yeah, we can see your email.
You don't want my email.
No, we don't, but that's what we can see. I mean, if you'd like us to see your email, it's fine.
I mean, you can go crazy with it.
Yeah,
I
so,
didn't want to say anything. I thought, well, maybe that's what he's trying to show us.
No, they're not. It's not that exciting.
yeah, and so coming into this, so now I'm a former STEM classroom teacher. So for this, the thing that's exciting about me is that it's really scaffolded along, and he'll get it to you. Sorry, and I can try sharing my screen. My Tony's going to be better off for it. Is that we've got, yeah, he'll pull it up.
What the?
I had to send him a link like 5 minutes ago, so we'll see if it works. Like I said, we had a huge storm.
I'm gonna give it one more version. Here we go. Hold on.
Sorry about that.
We're gonna go with PowerPoint, not Google.
Yeah. Midwestern storms in the mid-afternoon, my house was shaking. So, and it clearly went through my communication lines because I like the lightning hit and my whole house like shook and I was like going to the basement. This is like not good. Yeah. And my, it totally zapped my modem and router because I think it went through the communication lines straight through. So surge protector protected my $100 lamp, like my floor lamp that I got like off Amazon, but it didn't protect the things connected directly to the wall. So, yeah. So
sorry, real quick. The biggest thing for us was, as we looked at the competition landscape, we knew we wanted to get in front of middle school students and really build out a platform that would grow, from middle school through high school through college, because we know all employers are looking for individuals with skills, right? Like that's the key thing we hear is through our apprenticeship program. And we found that through our partnership with Skyline and National Cyber League, that we've actually built that competition framework that can start at entry level. And as students progress through our platform, we want them to grow into NCL, but there really wasn't an entry level kind of point for competitions for kids or schools that didn't have computer science. So we put a lot of work into curriculum, with the help of Tally and Franz and Cyber Skyline to really be all encompassing for everybody to have the things that they would need to be successful.
So, well, hopefully screen stuff will work out, but what the whole point is that
I think we're good, right?
Yeah, it's good. That's it. So you
Perfect.
can know about us. CyberUp's a nonprofit, and you know about cybersecurity. So we don't need to tell you something you don't know already, that it exists. The PowerUp Cyber Games runs October through April. So starting October 18th, people can log into the practice gym. We work under an assumption that folks would be able to dedicate 2 to 3 hours a week of practice time, doing one skill area at a time, starting with cryptography in October and finishing with software security at the end of the year to build up everybody's confidence and skills, with competition window being at the end of each month of practice. So mid-November, there's a competition, and then right after that, you move on to your next subject area. So it builds up over time, but each actual subject area month is totally separate and independent from the prior. So if, say, a school like had a really busy month in November and we're, really got to dive in heavy again in January, they wouldn't lose any advantage, and it works for that year. It's worked out well for after school programs, for computer science classes, electives, and even independent students. So you can register in a team of up to 4 and with a coach. And then as you know how Cyber Skyline works, and then you can also register to compete independently. These are the topics, and like, with Cyber Skyline, it runs in a browser window, and there's that real-time assessment that we all love. And that's mine, where I've done very little because I took a screenshot a month ago. We also like, with their partnership with CompTIA, and with Cyber Skyline, that everything starts to line up with Sec Plus, because we've had this workout with CTE educators. So if you're going into high school, there's this whole world of career and technical education, right? So there's a lot of folks looking to actually think about getting their students jobs right out of high school or getting them directly into that pipeline. And this works out really well for them, because they have huge STEM focuses and thinking about computer science. Yeah, we love our how-to guides, and how helpful that is to be able to have both curriculum, how-to instruction, and that problem solving where you're not totally thrown in the deep end without any help. And I lost my internet, so I've had a presentation for CT instructors, and we love that we also can work within our network of having been on this apprenticeship side to connect folks to navigators, to have an industry pro guidance and mentorship by building up that part of our program as well, so that a teacher who gets into this doesn't have to even be a computer science teacher. We had Girl Scouts leaders do this last year, right? And so they just dove right in with these like 12 and 13-year-olds and were able to be successful. And so we're really thinking intentionally about that partnership side so that you can take expertise out of the hands of the coach. Yeah, so that's us. That's our website. And that's my email. If you ever want to talk to me directly about it, I'm jess@wecyberup.org.
Great. Wonderful. Comments, everybody?
The only thing I would add real quick was there's been a lot of support in the curriculum. So we've got a partnership with cyber.org. We've also created a partnership with Teach Cyber. We wanted this to be, and this is the nice thing with the Cyber Skyline platform, it is all encompassing. So it doesn't require a computer science program or curriculum for a school to participate. So, but we wanted to be able to come to them and say, here's an option for you. If you would like to add curriculum to your classroom, these are great options that aren't going to cost you $65,000, $70,000 a year that you can incorporate that. And then Jess has worked really hard to build out a navigator program, which is where we go to our corporate partners who are doing, doing apprenticeship hiring, where they can come and mentor and coach the students as well. So we handle most of the volunteer aspect for those corporations to really be that bridge for competitors. Sorry, questions.
Great. Any questions?
I had a question. Yeah. So I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, but I looked at registration, and is it $250 per student? Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So are there any opportunities out there for money for schools that wouldn't be able to afford that? What do you guys provide?
Yeah, so we do have we do have a scholarship.
No, talk.
Yeah, we do have a scholarship that will go live in the next couple of weeks. Our intent, this is our second year with Cyber Skyline. Last year was our first season of launching PowerUp Cyber Games. I would never recommend launching a season in the middle of a global pandemic when the world is virtual. That was a unique challenge that we were able to have great results and great participation. So it's this weird chicken egg. The more competitors we have, the easier it is for us to go get scholarship funds, and the more scholarship funds, the more students we get to have. So we would never allow cost to be a barrier. When we looked at pricing, it comes out to 30 odd bucks a month per person. If you compare that to basketball, baseball, any sport that a parent would pay, and you remove the taking your child to and from practice, the cost isn't huge, but it could be a barrier. But so we do have scholarship and application that will go live in the next couple of weeks for the upcoming season.
Great, thanks.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much for giving that brief rundown, and we'll continue to keep track of the developments as we go along. Lots of exciting things probably in the future. So the next thing I wanted to mention is this encouraging and incentivizing female students and minorities. And the female students, so a couple of months back, we actually had several female students from two different teams, two different NCL teams. One was primarily students who were starting second careers or third careers, and they were not all from the same college, and the other one was from a university. It was a community college, sorry. And so that is an area that we are definitely looking to continually promote and encourage to help female students to really find their own space within NCL, feel comfortable. So any ideas on that, please provide those to us, and we'll continually try to encourage that movement. Currently, the percentage of female students is about 23% within the NCL total number of students. We want to really expand that as quickly as possible. And then in terms of minorities, so HBCUs, Native Americans, MSIs, we do have a scholarship going right now for HBCUs. If Aurelia, are you still on? Maybe you could provide some of your, feedback that you gave us at the recent symposium in terms of the students and the faculty at HBCUs, and how we're now trying to really expose students to NCL, doing what we can to encourage them. If you have anything that you'd like to share with the group right now.
Hi, good afternoon. What I shared with the group was that for many of the HBCUs, they are short-staffed, and that what normally happens is that when you're short-staffed, but your department is still responsible for research and all the other items faculty are responsible for. The thing that you would normally not participate in would be the student organizations, or the encouragement of students to participate in NCL or any other type of activity, because you probably lack the time. You're probably worried about being tenured or promoted, and or surviving. So some of the ideas that I came up with was providing some type of incentive for research for faculty. If you encourage your students, there's some type of research incentive. That way we're meeting both parties and helping them to meet in the middle of the road. So the time that faculty member will invest to help the students to get from point A to point B won't be time taken out of doing research, so that they can still see their progress in their position at the same time. And then we also talked about organizations that work with HBCUs, and they have a really good track record for getting HBCUs to come on board and to participate. And one such activity was Thurgood Marshall College Fund. And as I'm sitting here, I think I just saw an email from the point of contact at TMCL. So I'm excited about making new contacts and hopefully getting more HBCUs on board. As for myself, I tried a new incentive. My work study students, I encouraged the work study. I took on the research work study students that were MIS students, and I put them on a team, and they are roaring and going. So I'm excited to see what they do this year. So that was it. I think I covered most of everything. If I missed something, anyone let me.
Yeah, fabulous. So for anybody that has ideas on how we can expand that, those players from both HBCUs and MSIs, and then Stephen Miller, who is a longtime coach and faculty member associated with NCL, is working with the Native American population in eastern New Mexico. And he's given us a lot of feedback on that, and also introducing us to additional organizations. So, we're always open to working with others. So please, again, feel free to reach out. Let me know if there's anybody that you'd like to have us discuss NCL with them. Again, for the goal of visibility and expanding the number of participants, both faculty and students, as well as potential partners and sponsors of everything that we're doing. And, the next item here is to reach out to corporate sponsors. So that's another area that we are definitely working on. And then finally, we are building up a pretty large repository of educational information, tutorial videos, continuing to build on the diversity message, and also highlighting students who got jobs because of the scouting report, which is what I mentioned earlier. Before I move on, I just want to check, is there any comment on any of this information?
I just wanted to add one thing there, Tally. Aurelia talked about it, but I just wanted to re-highlight it for her. I did make a little Google Doc, and I put a link in chat for you to see that Google Doc, because she did come up with a few ideas of possible research topics. And I really like that idea of, working with other instructors out there, especially ones that need to do research like me. So if there's anyone that does want to partner up on one of these topics or some other topic related to incorporating NCL into your class, or all the other topics that you can see listed there about competitions and competitions in education. Like she said, that's just a great way to do two things at once, right? One, introduce cybersecurity into the class, but also help us, us and instructors be able to get some papers published. So feel free to reach out to me, really, I think, as well. And we would like to partner up on one of those topics.
Great, thank you, David. And thank you, Aurelia, very much. In case people don't know, Aurelia is from Virginia State University and HBCU. So can you see my screen in terms of the survey? Yes. Okay, so about 2,000 people responded, and we looked at what worked fine with no issues. Seemed like one of the biggest problems or issues that people encountered was this one, the top one, registration as a team for the team game. So that's something that we definitely want to look at working on. Setting up a Kali Linux virtual machine, and then Cyber Skyline's Linux terminal challenges was actually pretty good. So these are all in, the top 3/4, 70% and over worked fine, no issues. Communications from NCL, the gymnasium, the individual game, competition bracketing, and registration. Any comments on that? And then this one I thought was very interesting, wanted to share it with you, which is whether the professor uses NCL in the classroom. And this huge number, 67%, where the professor does not use NCL in the classroom. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not using NCL. It just means that they haven't integrated it into the classroom. A lot of students are participating through their cyber clubs, or they perhaps are getting extra credit to participate. But I thought that was a number that we would like to see improve. And then a lot on the scouting report usefulness, that it helped them get jobs, or help them get one or more interviews. I thought that was a pretty good number. What was disturbing, which is something that we want to improve, is what is an NCL scouting report? First time I've heard about it or knew it existed. And it actually is pretty prominently displayed everywhere on the websites. We talk about it a lot, so we really obviously have work to do there. Any thoughts, suggestions on what we might do regarding that? Because we believe that it definitely is a big help to students that want to advance in cybersecurity.
I think, just to reiterate, Tali, what you said earlier is, I think it's going to be important to bring this to our industry advisory board, what we're creating, and then also any recruiters out there, so they can actually say, yes, this is what we want to see in the scouting report. So I think that will help.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, and then the slide that you see up here is in terms of the team games. You saw earlier the difficulties that people had, that players expressed difficulty finding teammates, and they said that the scouting report is only for the individual games, but that again is something that is not correct, because I understand that it is actually available for team games. But one of the difficulties, and we understand this, is this first comment that it's discouraging to participate in a team where you know at least one person who has the ability to answer the questions before any other members could try. It might be a little bit discouraging, and then some members would be able to finish all the easier questions. So, you know, that relates obviously to an unevenness in the abilities of the players. Perhaps some are very, you know, absolute beginners, and others might be more advanced, which I think there are pros and cons to that. Obviously, from a positive standpoint, you've got beginners who are able to learn from those who are more advanced, but you know, perhaps because of the competitive nature, it does demonstrate that there might be some issues there. Any comments on that? Deborah, I see you have a comment to hammer the issue home with NCL coaches to explain the scouting report with their players. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. I just, at the end of the games, I always email the scouting reports to the players. I know they can get them themselves, but, you know, I go maybe take the extra effort to go download them all and then individually email them to them and tell them how valuable they are.
Deborah, can you tell us what your situation is? What are you, at high school or college? Where are you? What types of players?
Sure. We're a community college in Central North Carolina, and our program just about 1 year ago today got designated by the NSA Department of Homeland Security as a Center of Academic Excellence in Cybersecurity. So we've been doing a lot and trying to keep the program humming. And I think we're at maybe the 4th season participating in the NCL, not with a really large group. I'd say probably half a dozen students have participated, but we're trying to get that growing through an IT club.
And have you integrated NCL into the classroom?
At this point, no, we have not. We mention it, you know, we talk about it, but we aren't actually doing the individual games or using the constructs in the classroom.
Great. Well, it's really good to meet you and hear from you specifically. Thank you for that. And then Eric Patterson, you asked whether the scouting report is discussed during the registration process. Do you want to maybe elaborate on that?
Yeah, sure. I guess I would just, you know, especially if it's a situation where students are paying their own registration fee, you know, they're wondering what they get for their money. If it was made clear up front that, you know, this is part of what their registration fee buys them, maybe accompanied by a powerful quote or two from one or two of those 117 who said that it helped them get a job or an interview, you know, they could understand earlier on that there's something at the end that they need to walk away and grab that brass ring on the way out the door, you know?
You know, that is such a, that's such an easy thing to do. And I'm really glad you brought it up, because it reminds us, like, every day we have, you know, things like that that are suggested that are like, why didn't we think of that before? So really glad you mentioned that. Yeah. Any other comments? Okay. So I will move on, and very excited that John Sparks, a new coach, is joining us with the news that Laurus College will be doing NCL for the first time. And John has agreed to talk about that experience. John, how did you learn about NCL? How did you get started? What's this whole experience like? You wrote a wonderful, wonderful article that we just happened to discover. And it was such a pleasure to see that you had done all that homework on NCL. So really curious about, you know, what your environment is like, how many students are going to be participating. Any of that would be nice to hear about.
Certainly. And thanks for having me, of course. All that praise, I got to say, it was my colleague, Mr. Randall Lewis, who did most of the writing on that blog write-up. So kudos to him, but really a collaborative effort here in our IT department. And I am John Sparks from Laurus College. We're a private technical career college. He introduced me to the National Cyber League about a year or so ago. I've been looking into it. I was really attracted to that. I saw some of your coaching videos. Franz Payer in particular mentioned that one of the goals was to try to get analytical skills for the students, not just, hey, here's a tool, here's a password cracker, here's a log analysis, but we're going to give you maybe a hash, and then you determine what type of tool, and then use some analysis and research it rather than a specific step-by-step. And to me, that's what cybersecurity is. I mean, we're seeing, of course, in the news, all kinds of cyber attacks and ransomware, huge area, a need for students, and to have the analytical skills. The adversaries, they're thinking outside of the box. They're finding zero-day exploits. They're finding vulnerabilities outside of the box. So we need to use that same kind of analytical skill to find those and to stop those and prevent those, and certainly training our students on that, really great opportunity. So thank you for hosting the National Cyber League. Really looking forward to that. My goal is to get a small team, similar to what I'm hearing here, maybe a team of 7, maybe 2 teams, depending on interest. We've got about a half a dozen or so students have emailed me directly saying, hey, I want to sign up, tell me more. So that's what we're looking at. Our marketing team has just done an amazing job. They made this fancy logo here behind me, fancy logo on the website. They're putting banners up, they're putting links. We've got our own little tie-in with our portal, so we can have our own classroom and such. Not integrating into an actual class yet. We're teaching anywhere from beginning computer A+ repair up to ethical hacking and such. And I'm trying to recruit from all levels. So I don't know where I would put it into a classroom just yet, at the very beginning, at the very end, somewhere in the middle. So we're going to look at that as we go over the next course or two and see how that plays out. But yeah, really looking forward to it.
Well, we are excited to have you. And I'm wondering, are there questions for John? Advice, suggestions?
Welcome, John. I think your students will have a great time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sure.
And John, you know about the Slack channel, right?
I saw that. Yes.
Okay, so there's a Slack channel for coaches, but there's also one that the students participate in throughout the competition. So might be helpful to turn them on to that as well.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah, we're certainly here to help. If you have any
I did have a general question regarding the teams. I recently noticed that students form their own teams. As you're at a college or a high school, do you see students kind of drifting off and going to other teams, or they tend to stick with your environment? How does that work out?
Yeah, very good question, John. So on that, when you say like drifting away, do you mean like to other college teams, or how do you mean?
Yeah, exactly. If I've got
okay.
6 signed up and 2 end up going here and one finds out about another school and so forth, how does that work out?
I would say the very vast majority of people stick with the teams at their particular school, like the very, very vast majority. We do have a number of teams who are intentionally, like by design, multi-school teams. So this past season, the first place team, IRSEC, literally all over the country, NYU, UC Irvine, like just all over the country, because they are intentionally a multi-school team. So you'll find some of those occasionally, but for the very vast majority of the students, they do stick with the teams that that their school has sort of like put together there. So yeah, I think you'll find that to be the case for your students there as well.
Okay, thanks.
Very welcome.
Great. Well, welcome again. Thank you for whoever wrote the article did a great job. I'm going to go back and go back to the agenda. So the NCL Coaches Manual for integrating NCL into courses, in case you're not already familiar with it, it is actually available. I'm trying to see where my screen is. Hold on. It's actually available from the NCL website, the Coaches Resources section. And it's not coming up on my screen. I apologize. But perhaps, David Zychek, are you able to share your screen?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Do you have it handy?
I can pull that up.
Okay. So David kindly started this initiative. He has been a coach for how many years now for NCL?
I think all of them.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
6, 7 years, something like that.
and he's doing a yeoman's job as our current commissioner, just putting in all kinds of extra effort. And one of those was to start this this great example of how you as a coach can integrate NCL into your coursework.
Mhm.
And David, if you go to the resources section under
Yep.
coaches.
I was just kind of going slow so everyone could see where I was at.
Okay, great. And it's the second button.
Yep.
So do you want to just quickly walk us through it?
Yeah. So as you can see, there's quite a bit to it. So as Tali said, I've been, coaching teams and incorporating this into my class for several years now. So I just wanted to share this with others because I have found it immensely useful in terms of, using things like the NCL gym as labs. So that's one thing that I've done is I've just assigned the NCL gym practice as lab assignments, because in the NCL gym, it has the, step-by-step walkthrough. So that's great. And then I've also then from there incorporated in the competitions, the preseason and regular season, as for grades. So those are also lab grades as well, because one thing I really love about it is that, I am not going to be able to design such a great lab as the NCL competition is. And what that provides for students is a lot of depth. So they can, go almost as deep as they want and continue learning as much as they care to do within the NCL competition itself. So that's why I think it's great. So I wanted to, come to bring something that I could share with everyone else to show how it is possible to incorporate NCL into the class, into your curriculum itself. So I kind of go over here as benefits. I've talked, like I just talked about, putting it in the labs, the environment itself, and then I introduced Kali Linux in my classroom, talk about assisting them with labs. My class schedule is that I try to cover as many categories from the NCL as possible before the preseason starts, just so the students can be ready for the NCL. Talks about different difficulty rating. And then this is the main thing that at least I get lots of questions of, is like, how do you grade the competition itself? So I have kind of an outline of how I grade it, but the overview is I basically take the class average in the preseason and in the individual game. And if someone gets the average, then they get an 85% for that lab being the competition itself. And then a couple other people put some other ideas as well about grading. One interesting one I thought was like a write-up about what they learned in competing in the NCL. So that's an interesting way to grade them participating, but just think it's a great way to learn. Here's a couple syllabi, talks about rules, ethics. funding, this was important because at least with us, the California State University system, we have something called a learning fee that the students already pay part of their tuition. And so I'm able to just take some of that learning fee money to pay for them to compete in the NCL. So it doesn't cost the student anything extra. So it's not an additional cost for my class. And then finally, I got this tools link where I created a website that just shows what my kind of week by week class looks like and the tools that I cover during those weeks. So there you go. Questions?
Wonderful. So this is very much a collaborative effort. We invite others to join in. That's why it's on a shared Google Doc. Eventually, we will create more of a PDF document, but we wanted to give people an opportunity to provide their own ideas, their own examples, their own ideas on tools, that type of thing. So please use the link that's in the chat. Go to that document. Feel free to download it and use it for your own use in the classroom, and also to add to it as you see fit. And then any comments on that?
Fantastic. I know as Jess has conversations with teachers, that's the biggest gap, right? Is how I got this fancy thing. How do I make it real for my students in a classroom setting in absence of a project lead the way or some curriculum that's offered in a school setting? So, big kudos to you for doing great work.
And I know that different faculty members are at different levels also in terms of their knowledge of cybersecurity. They might just be, entering into it just to be a good coach. So I think this is a great guideline for them to be able to use as well. So back to what the other things I wanted to mention, I posted in the chat NCL's YouTube channel where we have been hosting the tutorials that Franz Peyer has been doing this summer. We'll continue that a different series actually, but we have a couple of different series of videos. We're also, our players committee is developing blogs. We're really, as I said, building a great repository of information. It's called the Trove, and it's on Cyber Skyline's website. So we'll be able to roll that out and continue to roll it out as we go along. And then finally, I also posted the application for the HBCU scholarships in case you know anybody who is interested in getting, at least getting their fall season paid for. But there's also a couple of tutorials that were developed specifically for Aurelia's class. So they might be helpful. They're also on the website under the competition tab. And Aurelia has been a really fantastic resource for us in helping us to connect with those students. So, and then other than that, I think I just wanted to again reiterate for those who are not, who haven't been joining, that we do have these flyers, both for passing along to coaches and for passing along to students. You can see that the dates are here. The gym is already open. When the preseason game is, a change this season is that the preseason games are now optional, but it is a great week of practice. And then the individual game and of course the team game is optional as well. And then finally, our next meeting is September the 27th. So you'll be seeing an invitation to that. And you can always go to the coaches page, which David was showing before. At the bottom of it is recordings of our past coaches calls and additional information on the upcoming calls. So I'll stop there and ask any other comments for what we've been talking about today, and also any ideas for upcoming coaches calls. The next coaches call, as I said, will be at the end of September, so it's right before the season actually starts. So we're happy to hear ideas on what would be helpful. Hey, Deborah, you posted something in the chat. Would you care to talk about that?
Yeah, our friend who just presented on
David?
Yes, David, sorry. In his link to his Adobe Spark page on his various curriculums, he had the link for or some information for Over the Wire. And I heard him mention that actually a couple months ago at one of the other NCL meetups. And so I checked it out and I thought, well, this is pretty interesting. And so I assigned a portion of it to my Linux students, and they really thought it was a nice twist on how to review some of their Linux commands rather than, the often dry way where you present, ls, find, pwd, and that they were actually solving this challenge. So it inspired them a bit. So thanks for tipping me off to that.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it's a great resource. There's tons of other stuff out there too. There on that site on Over the Wire.
Yeah, I'll keep checking it out. Thanks.
And it's free too, so it's great.
Yeah, that fits my budget.
Yeah.
Thanks for that great feedback. So I think unless anybody else has, I see Eric, you've shown your face, so I'm wondering, did you have anything you wanted to weigh in on?
No, just didn't realize my video wasn't on the whole time. Sorry, didn't want to be the
nice
lurker
to see
behind
you.
the screen. You too.
But so we'll give you back a few minutes of your day. Really appreciate, well, actually not, it's exactly 6 o'clock. So, but thank you so much for joining, and feel free again to email me with any additional ideas for future coaches calls and more information that you might need. Thanks a lot. Bye, everyone.